PM versus vendor. Team play for success.
I'm Gabriela Coahla and I have been a certified bilingual translator English to French and Romanian since 2010. I consider myself a beyond words vendor and I love being close to my PMs.
I'm Lucia Gutierrez, a localization project manager with almost 10 years of experience. I have worked in many different LSPs with many different hats, but always focusing on project management, as it is the job I enjoy the most.
Hello, everyone.
Hello, Gabriela. Hello, everyone.
We are back with another episode about this is for you. I will let you say it.
The difference between project managers and vendor managers.
Yeah, this will be an episode with a lot of questions from a vendor to a PM. So I really think it will be very, very, very important for many of our
And
colleagues.
I think it will also be very important for LSP owners and LSP managers, because sometimes it's not also clear to them what is a vendor manager and how can this person help a company grow.
Exactly. No, I think it will be a very, very important episode. So let's get started, and we will start with onboarding. I think there are some things that we have to clear. From my experience, I had two type of situation. I was regarding LSPs, of course. I was contacted by a PM and I was contacted by a vendor management. The PM did everything, the onboarding, agreement of rates, projects, everything. But I also had the situation with being contacted by or I contacted a vendor manager. I did the onboarding and then I started working with a PM. So Lucia, tell us why sometimes we have a PM, what are they doing? Tell us everything when it comes to onboarding, at least.
Yeah, as I said, not in all companies the figure of the vendor manager exists. And when there are no vendor managers, project managers take this role and these responsibilities. So what it is a vendor manager, as the name implies, is a manager that takes care of vendors. So that means that they need to recruit vendors, they need to check on how vendors are, if they are happy, if they are not. They are also a different point of view if there are issues between the project manager and the vendor. Sometimes the vendor manager gets in between to be like kind of a judge, just to put some clarity on it. So yeah, for big companies where project managers have a lot of projects, the vendor manager figure is really important and is the one that linguists, vendors in general, will be in touch with for anything else that are not projects.
Okay, yes, I see. So, okay, this is the onboarding, but let's think that there are several different situations. Let's talk about rates then. Who, because as I told you, I was in touch with the PM, so we agreed on the rates, we did everything, but sometimes I was in touch with the vendor manager and we agreed on the rates, and then the PM followed for the project. But my question is, are the PMs or the vendor managers having or are they one deciding on the rates, or it's from someone different in the structure, in the LSP structure?
It depends on the company. Most of the time, indirectly, it's the sales people dictating the rates. Why? Because both vendor and project managers, they sometimes have KPIs on how much profit they are doing per project. So you need to do X amount of profit, and that's your KPI. So the rates that we need from vendors will depend on the rates that have been offered to the client. So
Okay.
if to the client, they've been from the sales team, they've offered really low rates, that means that the vendor manager or the project manager, if there is no vendor manager in the company, will need to take care of finding linguists that will be within that range so that the profit and the KPI is met.
Yeah, yes, I see. So it's not always straightforward, if I can say that.
No. And
No.
sometimes the vendor manager, there are different kinds of recruitment. The vendor manager might be recruiting just to have enough linguists of a certain language pair or a certain specialization, but with no project in mind. Or they might be recruiting on a per project basis. So
Okay.
this project has come in and I need linguists for this project. In that case, they already know which rate they can accept because they already have the rate that is being charged to the client. In the other cases where they just want to grow the pool, there are different strategies depending on the LSP. So the
Okay.
LSP might say, okay, just review the standard rate that we've got for that language in our pool, and that's more or less your target for finding new linguists. Or they might say, okay, go to pros, take a look at the rates there, and basing yourself on that, that would be like the market price. Then you can look for vendors within that price range. Or some other times they might just say, as long as it's not more than this, you're okay, because there is no specific project in mind.
Yeah, but here is a question, and I think almost, if not all, my colleagues ask this at least once in their career. Why you are asking, you or vendor managers are asking us the rates when you already have the rates in mind? Why don't you say, for example, this is the rate, and that's it? Why this go back and forth, or I don't know, this negotiation? I don't know
Because
how to put.
when you go to a shop, you take a look at the prices, and
Okay.
if you don't like the prices, you don't go and argue with the people at the shop and say, oh, this is too expensive, I'm not gonna buy here. If you don't leave it at this price, I'm gonna leave. You don't do that. Why would
But
you do that with a freelancer?
but you said that you already have the rate. You gave the rate to the client, so you
Mhm.
know the rate that you want to pay to the freelancer, to the vendor. So why are you asking the rates?
Because I don't want to impose rates. You tell me
Ah,
your rate.
okay, yeah, yeah. Because
I know there are some companies that do that, Gabriela. I know there are some companies that they tell you, okay, I'm gonna pay you 2 cents per word for this project.
yeah,
I don't,
you
because I
know
don't impose.
You know how many LinkedIn posts I read about that, because a lot of freelancer vendors complain about this, because they ask you the rates and then you give the rates and they don't even reply to your email. So some says it's better for them to send you the email with the rates they want, and after the freelancer, the vendor will reply and say no, it's too high or it's too low, or I don't know. Really, I don't know. I'm a bit in between.
It's what we always say. You
Mm,
don't get it right, because if you go and say, okay, I want to pay you this, then you're imposing your rates and you are evil because you don't respect people's professionalism and blah blah blah.
yes, yes. I really see. So we talk about onboarding. We talk about rates. We talk about all the things related to rates, which will still be a hot subject in my opinion. But we didn't talk about CVs, for example. I contacted PMs via email or via LinkedIn or even ProZ and other platforms. I sometimes a bit less, I have to confess, vendor managers. So how do we know? For example, I know that we should do our homework and search on LinkedIn and see if the LSP has vendor managers. if the LSP has project managers, I know that everyone, and I think who applied for jobs knows that. But in your opinion, should we go to the project manager, or should we go directly to the vendor manager if there is one?
If there is a vendor manager, always go to the vendor manager, because the project manager is not going to do you an onboarding. If there is a vendor manager in the company, the project manager is not, I can guarantee the project manager is not going to be doing onboardings. So your first point of contact should be the vendor manager, who is the one who is going to be able to get you into the database.
Okay.
Then it will be the project manager, but the project manager focuses on the now, on the project that they've got on hand.
Yeah. So if you want to work with an LSP, because they are nowadays, it's not like before, talking about LSPs or talking about PMs, or the relation between a PM and a vendor. Before it was a bit taboo. No, we didn't give feedback. PMs didn't say that they work with a certain vendor, or a vendor didn't say that they work with a certain PM. It was taboo. This relation was taboo, in my opinion. But nowadays we see that there are a lot of recommendations on LinkedIn. We see that LSPs, they talk about the vendors they are working with, and this is good. So I think if you want to work, if you see there is an LSP that is very cool, human, and you want to work with them, I think the first thing is to check if they have a vendor manager. If they don't have a vendor manager, and they have 2 or 3 PMs, what should we do? Which one do we contact?
No, sometimes it's not about contacting people, it's about finding the right place. Sometimes on the website, there are some email addresses that say, you want to work with us, and that's your CV to this email address, or fill in this form. Check out if there is something like that prior to personally contacting anyone. Because as we said in previous episodes, unsolicited job requests are not good. So check out if there is any kind of form you can fill in, or a specific direction, email address, sorry, you can get in touch with.
Yeah. And this is a thing that happened several times to me, is during online gatherings, or even on-site gatherings, like I don't know, meetings between people from the same industry. You meet project managers or vendor managers, and you can stay in touch. You can like their publication on LinkedIn, you can comment, you can see their online behavior. And when you see a project, or you want to, for example, send a message to say that you are available to take on new projects, I think it will be better than to directly write to them and say, I want to work with you. Have a more human approach, you know?
Yes, it's better. And yeah, I remember I already talked about this. It's always better to make a memorable memory, as you might say, than just send a cold message saying, "Oh, this is me. I would love to work with you," because it's not relatable.
Yeah, I think we should. I understand that we need to work. I understand that we need to search for other LSPs, because there are a lot of changes in our industry these days, and some LSPs are more approachable than others. But I think we should do our homework. We should understand the roles. Lucia explained very well what a vendor manager is doing, what a PM is doing. So maybe to wrap this episode, what other tips to PMs or even to vendors?
Well, just before wrapping up, I would like to clarify one thing that I know gets vendors' nerves, and that is when you've done a full onboarding and then you don't receive any projects. That happens.
Yes, I forgot about that. Thank you for reminding me.
Yeah, that happens, and it happens a lot of times. Why is this? Okay, the vendor manager gets a request. This request can be from the project management team saying, okay, we don't have enough Malay translators. we're struggling. We just have, I don't know, 4 in the database. 2 of them are hardly ever available, and the other 2 we need more, no? So they start looking for more freelancers. By the time they get them, maybe the projects are not available anymore. Because
okay.
this is a process. So maybe by the time they get the new linguist, it's already too late. And the project managers don't need that language combination. So that might be one reason. Another reason, the vendor manager gets a request from the operation team, and they say, okay, a new project is coming in, and I need 4 Thai linguists, 4, I don't know, Chinese, 4 Japanese, and 4 Korean. Okay, and they build the team. They build the team for the project manager so that the project manager doesn't have to waste time on that. But then when the project manager sees the team, then the project manager says, this is a new linguist, and for this client, I've already worked with this other linguist that I know they work well, and they are not gonna let me down, so I'm gonna go with this because it's safer.
Okay.
This other linguist that the vendor manager proposed is not being used. And this happens a lot, and this is a frustration from the vendor managers, I can tell you, because vendor managers, many times they recruit translators that PMs never use them. Why? Because PMs feel safe with the vendors they normally work with.
Yes,
so it's a risk.
understand.
It's a risk working with a new vendor. So why do you work with a new vendor if you can work with an old one that you already know they work well? So this is a confrontation that project managers and vendor managers many times have. Then
okay.
I can give you another example. The sales team, they ask the vendor manager, hey, there is a client here that is requesting for translations into Tagalog. Do we have any vendors into Tagalog? And the vendor manager says, no, we don't, but I will start a new search to be prepared in case this project lands. Then after negotiations, that project doesn't start.
Yes.
So the vendor manager already recruited some vendors for a project that is not going to start. So you can see there are many factors why vendor managers do their job, but then the translators are not used.
Yes. No,
I know it's a pain, but I can guarantee you that it's also a pain for the vendor manager because all their work gets wasted.
Yeah. Yes and no, because they already have someone on paper or in the database, and maybe there will be another project for that language pair. And this is good because we already talked about in a previous episode that sometimes these things, when you don't, when a vendor doesn't receive a project, it's not because of his or her skills. It's because the project was not approved, or as you said, there was a discrepancy between the vendor manager and the PM. The vendor manager doesn't know that the PM already has an established relationship with a vendor. So it's not you guys. I think this is to encourage you. It's more complicated than that. So I know it's easy to get frustrated. It's easy to rant on social media, but things are more complicated, no, Lucia, behind the scenes.
Yes, it's not all as straightforward as you might think. And there are, most of the time, there are many factors that come into play.
Yeah. Thank you for all your valuable advice. Really, I think it will help some of my colleagues, if not all my colleagues. And see you for another episode.
Yeah, thank you everyone for listening, and let's catch up in the next episode. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Bye.
What you've heard are just our personal opinions. We by no means intend to impose our personal views on anyone. Feel free to disagree, throw tomatoes at us, or just drop a comment to let us know. Thank you!